right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. This is another episode of the Business Buddha podcast. I have some very special guests with me today. I have the owner and founder of TableDot, which is a mobile application which allows you to, it's essentially the Uber of private chefs. So you can order a chef to come to your house and cook you food. And so it's really cool, and she's going to show us some of the features of the app and talk about how it was developed. And we also have one of the chefs here who works for the company, and he's actually brought some food. He's going to show us some of the things that you could possibly get when you use the app. So Katie, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks. And thanks for having me. And thanks for bringing on Chef Jason. My name's Catherine Allen, Katie Allen, one of the founders of TableDot, which originally started here in Tampa. TableDot is pretty much, as you mentioned, a platform, mobile and web, where you can book a private chef easier than ever before.
And why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Chef Jason Silverman. A chef for TableDot, and just hailed here from Los Angeles May 1st, and I'm happy to be representing TableDot.
Okay. Katie, thanks so much for being on the podcast. I just wanted to ask you some questions. So tell me about TableDot in general. How did you come up with the idea, and did you have any inspirations of why you wanted to start the company?
Yeah. I'm honestly going to say that out of need drives inspiration. And so a couple of years ago, when the idea of TableDot wasn't even born, I used to put on dinner parties with friends, whether it was family. And me being a foodie, I was often one that was in the kitchen trying to, run the rodeo and really try and make every dish for everyone and kind of get everything out on the table, and then the people would be in the kitchen trying to help. Basically, I was not with the friends and the family that I wanted to get together with. And so that's kind of the inspiration and the need that came for developing TableDot, which was, okay, let's see if we can get a private chef in here to help us do the next one. And so, yeah.
Very cool, very cool. So you said that you are a foodie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I also consider myself to be a foodie. So, well, what are some of your just favorite foods, just so we can establish that?
Well, I do love a plain meat and potatoes kind of thing, but I love anything pesto. Any root vegetable pureed is awesome. Usually, seafood I can really try and make it all, but I love to eat it all.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Gordon Ramsay and all those cooking shows, especially Hotel Hell. You ever seen that show where he goes in and just screams at everybody?
Yeah. I like the chaotic ones where they have all those random food items. I think I saw one last week with a Twinkie in it. And then they have to craft a dish out of it. It's pretty interesting.
So we cater and hope to have a lot of listeners who are sort of an entrepreneurial slant and want to start. There's a lot of people who have thought about starting an application now that the App Store has, become what it is. So can you just talk about a little bit about how you started and how you worked on the app, or how did you go from sort of concept to where you are now?
Yeah. So I have a bit of a background in business. And so kind of what I knew to begin with is planning. You have to put everything down on paper, whether it's your thoughts, ideas, you get people to rip it apart. You find the risks, you walk through those in your head, and you really kind of put everything down on paper. And then you might have an idea of what it might look like. And so it could be as simple as crayons or pencils, and you just draw that out. And then you go and you're looking for people who develop mobile apps, whether it's overseas or onshore here in the United States. You kind of gauge their interest of developing the app with you and seeing what their price point is.
So did you use someone in the U.S. or did you use someone overseas?
Originally, we used somebody overseas, and then we brought the application over onshore so that we could finish and kind of refine the development to what we expect here.
Yeah, and I think that is something that if someone wants to start a mobile application, it's obviously if you go like someone in India or maybe China or somewhere like that, the price is probably going to be lower than if you hire a developer here. But was there any like difficulties in that? Because obviously, the fact that the language barrier or just them not being present in person to work with causes some communication issues. So like how did you compare the two?
Well, in this day and age, everything's pretty much virtual. So we were connecting via video, phone every day. The main difference, I think, with going overseas is you really have to have everything mapped out for them. You don't want the developers overseas really making a judgment call on something you might expect as normal of what we are used to seeing for applications or web here in the United States. So you really have to be specific. Whereas maybe if you use somebody onshore, they might understand the nuances that we all are used to.
Yeah, I understand that. One of the things I worked with a team in India in one of my past jobs, and I completely agree. I think they're super smart over there, but because of the, they speak very good English, but you have to, the best way to do it is to give very specific instructions. Otherwise, things can get lost, and especially with mobile apps because there's so many like little fine tuning, I'm sure, about how to do it.
Yeah.
So how long did it take to go from, we want this application to like it being in the App Store?
So once we reached out to them, we were starting from ground zero. The timeline was projected, I think, 6 months, but it's tech, so I think they always go a little bit over. Once we got it to a state where we were comfortable kind of taking the code out of their hands and bringing it overseas, then there's just this constant, always improving state that we're in. We're always taking feedback, always, looking at what the chef's needs are. How do we make it easier for the customer, which is our ultimate goal. We're trying to bring convenience to the table. So always improving.
Right. So just so people understand, the application is as we talk right now, it's not something you can download in the App Store, but it's available like as a web app on the phone and also a website that you could go to on a laptop.
Correct. It is mobile responsive. So what we did with our beta testing that we closed out earlier this year is we took all of the feedback from chefs, from customers, and we completely redesigned the site and even changed a little bit of the functionality. And so by doing that, we now have applications that weren't in sync with what you could achieve on the website or with the mobile responsive website. So we took them down to temporarily have that match what you can see on the website so that the experience is the same.
So is there any issues about so you're currently what's keeping it from being in the App Store right now?
Oh, well, we just finished the redesign. We launched it over July 4th weekend. We figured we could get it out there and launch, and maybe people were needing a private chef at that time because of the holiday, but if not, it was a quiet time for us to kind of make sure everything was running top notch. Our CTO, Judith, who wanted to be here today, but she had to leave over the weekend to DC. She's pretty much the one that heads up all of the tech for Table.Dot now. She came on earlier this year in March and has completely changed the way we kind of work with our technology. She's amazing at it.
Yeah. So is it geographic? Are you in every state now, or is it only in certain states where it's functioning?
So when we did our beta test in our test markets, it was pretty much Tampa, Orlando, St. Pete. That was where we felt comfortable just because we were based here and, it's our baby. Now we've pretty much launched in a couple new cities, Jacksonville, Miami, and including other states. So Phoenix, Charlotte, some cities in Wisconsin. And so these are kind of our test pilot cities. But pretty much if there's a chef like Chef Jason in a certain city like Jacksonville, he won't get any booking requests that are too far for him to get to reasonably. So we pretty much put a 30-mile radius around any chef's particular address to make sure that we're not sending them on a 2-hour hunt to provide a decent and luxurious dinner party.
So can you just explain how does the pricing work?
Sure. So actually one of the things that we feature on Table Dot is our transparent pricing model. So pretty much you get to checkout after, we'll go over the app and how you get to checkout, but we display everything, how much the grocery is, the labor, so that you have a full understanding of what you're paying for as opposed to just a flat fee or a vague number that you're not too sure if that compares to what you're looking for in your budget.
So does it change based on like what the food you order a specific food and then there's a cost for like the service, or like is it something like that?
Well, if you go onto the app, you pretty much are going to search your favorite dish, you add it to your shopping cart, then you go on to the sides, you add those to your shopping cart, appetizers, and in all of that, you let us know how many guests you're going to have, whether it's a romantic dinner or maybe a birthday celebration. So based on our algorithm and the number of people you have, we'll pretty much put out the end number there. So it's very calculated. The food costs, again, are estimated, but we've pretty much got it down to a science. And those savings are passed on to the customer. So if Chef Jason's been, he gets a Chef Shopper credit card. So if his card's been loaded with, $98 to shop for the groceries and he happens to get it done in 78, those savings are passed back to the customer.
Okay, so the chef, if he's, let's assume he's sitting on a couch somewhere and he gets some notification like someone's ordered a meal. Mm-hmm. So he then has to go to the grocery store and buy the ingredients and then drive to the person's house and cook the meal. That's basically how it works.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, private chefs is not a new concept, but the way we're trying to make it more convenient to the customer, more transparent to the customer is what Table Dot is all about.
So it seems like, a new idea as far as it being an on-demand type of service. Like I've never heard of another application or that's like this. Is there competitors?
No, as far as what our web mobile application does, it's revolutionary in that there's nothing else like it where you can plug and play different food items into your shopping cart. You pretty much have full control over your dinner party without ever having to pick up the phone. There's nothing else like that. There are other websites similar that are pretty much like a Rolodex. Here's a chef in your area, and then you kind of begin that conversation and you build the menu, then you find out the pricing, and then you kind of set your date. So that can take up to a couple days, maybe a week or two, whereas Table Dot, you can get that done in less than a minute.
Yeah, it does seem like a good idea for the chef, not just the customer, because if you're a chef, what are your alternatives? You work for you have your normal employment where you work, a set number of hours.
Right.
But like this is something where you could I guess potentially do it like on the side and you could make extra money and you don't necessarily have to be tied to certain hours or so. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. It's a way for chefs who maybe work in a kitchen at a restaurant or aren't scheduled as many hours as they'd like because maybe the restaurant isn't open certain days, the ability to take brunches, lunches, dinners, and accept those bookings based on their schedule.
So have you had any challenges with obviously COVID has, changed, like if you order food on something like Uber Eats or DoorDash, they're just dropping it at the door and they're not, talking to you or touching, which is probably a good thing.
Right.
But if you have someone in your house, obviously there'd be different. Like, how have you dealt with the COVID issue?
Sure. So pretty much what we found from researching and talking with our customers is that when they are celebrating something, when they are wanting to do something special, basically the food options that they have are going to a restaurant, which the safety concerns over what you can potentially catch or not catch are there, and they're a higher percentage than if you stay at home. So similar to the contactless delivery with Uber, but these chefs are trained to kind of have higher hygiene standard. Most of them wear masks, gloves, disinfect their stations, and they found that that's safer than going to the restaurant.
So when the chef comes to the house, are they bringing like a hot plate to cook on, or are they using like the kitchen in the house where the people live and like their knives and equipment?
I'd love for Chef Jason to answer that, but pretty much the chef was going to bring any specialty items. So typically chefs have a favorite knife, anything specialty that's going to be needed to kind of make the meal in the client's home. But pretty much the equipment that the customer has in the home is utilized for the dinner party.
Why don't you go ahead and answer that question? Like, obviously, so you've done cooking for Table Dot. Like, do you use their, stove and their knives, or do you bring your own stuff? Like, how does it work?
Personally, I bring all of my own gear, my knives, all the kitchen equipment, my oils. I pick up the groceries. I shop at multiple grocery stores to make sure it's the finest ingredients. That's just me personally. I don't like to bother with anything in anyone's kitchen. So I feel that bringing my own stuff, I'm more comfortable with it, and I can put out the best product with it.
So people don't have to worry, because some people may be uncomfortable with, you touching their plates and their specific things. So you're bringing all your own stuff. So does that mean like you're not pre-cooking anything, right? Like everything is, all the ingredients are raw when you get there, and then they become the meal when you get there.
Correct. I only use their serving plates and serving utensils. And then once they're finished, I clean everything, put it in the dishwasher, and clean the kitchen better than when I arrived.
Oh, so you're like doing dishes as well.
I'm doing dishes, and
Yeah.
their kitchen is super clean, like you can eat off the floor.
They shop, they prep, they cook, and then they clean up before they leave.
Yes.
And that's going to be standard with any private chef service, but with Table Dot, again, it's the convenience we're bringing to show people that private chefs are affordable. They are for the everyday person. They don't have to be this luxurious for only the 1% that we're trying to bring it to show everybody what they can do.
Very cool, very cool. So like, it seems some of the way that you're selling it, like this is more of a dinner type deal, like, or are people doing this for like I mean, I don't see a lot of people having breakfast via private chefs. I mean, maybe if you have tons of money, but it's not something I'm doing.
Yeah. We've had, there's been a ladies' luncheon that we've had chefs come cook for, where they wanted to kind of learn a little bit as well. So there was a little cooking class aspect to that. We do offer brunches, and you're from the Tampa Bay area, so Gasparilla is a big thing, and you got to get your food in before you go out for the day. So we offer a lot of the brunches to a lot of the guests on Bay Street here in Tampa. But mainly what people think about when they want to bring in a private chef is for their night or evening dining needs.
So, like, what is some of the, Jason, like the best things on the menu? And you're like, what would you recommend if I was like a brand new customer? Like, what would you want to prepare?
Yeah, something I wanted to mention as well is meal plans, where instead of just having us for a party, a lunch, or a dinner, our chefs will come in and prepare your meals for the week. So you can heat up your breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or you can have snacks all day long, prepared by a private chef. So you don't have to order in, you don't have to go to the grocery store, and everything is there in Tupperwares for you when you're hungry. My favorite dishes, I mean, I'm a big pescatarian, vegetarian. That's pretty much all I cook. I stopped eating meat, although I'm not opposed to cooking it. Yeah, the two dishes I brought today are roasted eggplant with caramelized onions, as well as I did bring a chicken franchise upon request, which is delicious, organic, and I'll have a bite.
Okay, so we're definitely going to take a look at that food in a second. But just some more questions. Like, how does it all? Is all the all the payments does that go through the app, or does that go through? Do they pay the chef?
So Tabledot is a cashless platform where you make it to checkout. You don't have to have any cash. You can even tip the chef via the checkout. Some people do prefer to they're old fashioned. Maybe they want to just make sure that they can hand the tip to the chef directly. It's kind of a form of saying thank you so much for your service. So it is a cashless platform. We made that available to everybody, especially during these times.
Very cool. So, how are you, like, what's your strategy in terms of growing user base or making people aware that just the app exists, other than being here?
Yeah. Pretty much, I mean, one of our biggest way to get to customers is simply showing them pricing. I mean, you'd be surprised that the way our business model is that if you go to a restaurant, fine dining restaurant, and order 2 to 3, 4 courses, it comes out to X dollars. And we figure that out by going to the restaurant or finding their menu online and adding that up. And so the similar dish, everything similar being on Tabledot, turns out to be 10 to 15% lower than going to a restaurant.
So do you know, like, how many users you have now, or like what's your, or like, do you have like a target set of users in the future?
Well, we're hoping to at least just book, since we are starting out, we redesigned in July. So we're looking to basically push to $10,000 in revenue per month before the end of the year. And that's with our expanding, in different cities nationwide. And then depending on the data and the feedback that we get from those cities, telling us which cities are requesting the most private chefs. And that's where we focus our attention. And so it's an ever learning process. Building a company, we're forever going to be trying to figure out the data and analyzing it to make the best decisions.
So what would your sales pitch be, because obviously you're competing with all those meal delivery services that already exist, like Uber Eats and DoorDash and all of those things. You're, in a way, seems to be also competing. Like, I've used HelloFresh. Obviously, it's not the same thing, but they're delivering the ingredients.
Right.
And then there's also, like, I had Freshly. I've tried Freshly before.
Me too.
Wasn't a fan. Wasn't a fan, or I wasn't a fan for what I was paying for.
Yeah.
So I do not have those services anymore. So what would you say to somebody like who would say, well, I can just order Uber Eats and I don't, what's the sales pitch from instead using your platform instead of doing the easy thing, which is like Uber Eats?
Yeah. And I mean, Tabledot has got a target market. And, just like, the motor in off the highway is not going to be something that maybe some people want and they'd prefer to book at a resort or Airbnb, something like that. So our target market is pretty much people who are wanting a private chef or who do view private chefs as beneficial. If it's your daughter's 16th birthday and you're busy, but delivery doesn't seem like a very special option, then that's when you turn to Table Dot.
So I just wanted to clarify this from before, is that you said that like this isn't something you order for just like a one-time meal. Like what Jason's saying is he could come in and he could cook 5 meals or 6 meals.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So just like he mentioned, the meal prep service, there is meal delivery where if you want that contactless delivery but a chef prepared dish, then they can deliver that in the containers, and they kind of drop it with you at the door. And then there's those meal prep where you got meals for 3 days, 5 days. And then we have chefs on board that offer dietary plans as well. So with certain calorie counts that are, down to the exact number that you're looking for.
Yeah, I think it seems like one of the reasons why you would want Table Dot as opposed to maybe Uber Eats or something like that is that you're seeing the chef cook it in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Like if, for example, if you're like, you order Uber Eats, you don't know what happened to that food.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't. So you're
True.
really putting the trust in whoever you ordered it from. But if Jason or whoever comes, you're seeing what he's doing. So if you're that kind of person that's worried about cleanliness, or that might be something that you're interested in Table Dot over something else.
Yeah, and I mean, not to slam any delivery services that are out there, but I think there was some articles not too long ago where people were missing some food items out of their order, or some things were taken, half eaten. I don't know. It was a thing, but I'll let Chef Jason speak on that. But
yeah, I also think the element of a consultation face to face or by phone is important to see what types of food you like. What are your weight gains or weight losses, or like where are you at health wise? So if you're speaking to someone who understands exactly where you want to be because you are what you eat, I think there's a little bit more of a personal touch that way to cook them for the week, or maybe cheat on the weekends perhaps. But I think that's something that Table Dot offers that most don't, in speaking with a chef and telling them exactly what you want in your body.
Yeah, I mean, like kind of what you're saying is, or what I've learned as I've grown older, is that food is so important to like not only your health, but if you want to be a fit person. And in other societies, it seems that they have more of a reverence to food. I've seen a lot in on the other side of the world that they they'll bow to food and it's very interesting. What do you think in terms of like Table Dot as a service too? Like if you want to, like food can be an experience, and so you can have a connection to food. Like, so can you talk about how Table Dot works with that?
Sure. And I mean, I can play on like my own experiences with that. So being that we're all foodies here, we have an emotional connection possibly to the food we eat. It makes us feel good. It makes us feel happy. If it's something we like, we're all about it. When we were originally starting with the idea of Table Dot, it would typically be dinner parties. This is pre-pandemic times, but there was maybe 4-8 of us in the house, and to have that experience of a chef in the background, masterfully crafting these dishes, where you could go in and talk to the chef, learn a little bit as he's cooking, watch. I mean, that's an experience that you're not going to get from a restaurant. You're not going to get from delivery. And then to be able to have that food right there in front of your face, plated, this amazing presentation, it takes you to another level.
So what are some of the technical challenges that you've had, like with the app? Like, could you explain that to people that may be thinking about starting an application? Like, you have to have, I know you have to have like a database, and you have to all that kind of stuff. So how have you gone through that whole the technical side of it?
Well, it was a journey. Before we had our CTO Judith on board, it was pretty much me trying to get what was in my head out. And being that I don't come from a technical background, I relied on a lot of mentors, advisors. I'd say that, I, was thinking, or I created TableDot, but really it's not you. It's you and your community, and it's the support of the people around you that really help get you to the next level if you're driven enough and you have enough motivation. So technical, mishaps, when Judith came on board, she mentioned we need to improve the database. We need to improve certain aspects. I'm part of the marketing and an outreach team. So I kind of look at from the customer and chef's perspective, but she looks at it from a technical background. So, making sure that you have the right people on your side from the beginning is going to be something that saves you a lot of headache, stress, time, money, in the end.
Okay, why don't we go ahead and break out the food? I know we have some. I know
fun
Jason
part.
has. I don't want it to get cold over there, so.
All right.
While you're
hot or cold, what I brought.
Okay, so I'll just ask you a couple more questions. So what he's bringing out right now, this is an example of what they could order. Like, is this a specific meal that's on the application?
Yeah. If you're in Tampa and you happen to want a private chef or just want to experience a private chef in your home, you go on TableDot, you type in your city or your address, and you'll come up with all of these amazing dishes. And so what we're going to have today is the chicken francaise and the roasted eggplant with caramelized onion. So either of those dishes you can search. Once you've typed in your city, you can search by name and find some of these dishes so that you can place the booking and have, Chef Jason come craft your next Friday night evening, if it's birthday, anniversary, or whatever it might be.
Okay, so we brought out looks like some delicious food. Jason did. Jason, why don't you hold that up to the camera and just explain what here? I'm gonna show my version. Explain like what this part is. This in this boat.
Yes, this is the roasted eggplant with caramelized onions. The process of getting the bitterness out of the eggplant is through a methodology of salt and garlic and sautéing and then baking. And then once the eggplant gets nice and juicy, you scoop it out and mix it with tomatoes, little tomato paste, and just put it back in the onto the burner, and that's it.
Okay, and is this like can you explain like I know your presentation here, you have like it's in a boat, like so, I mean, was that just to make it look nicer? And
yeah, and the feta cheese always adds a little bit of I guess yumminess, if you want to call it that, to the dish. A little bit of parsley, a little bit of nice small toast to it. The boat just gives it a nice presentation if you want it as an appetizer, but you can certainly take the dish, put it in the fridge, and scoop it out and put it on toast, eat it straight out of the fridge, and it is great for meal plans.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and try the, I guess this would be the appetizer.
Sure.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great topper.
Very good. Very good.
Thanks.
I kind of want to just eat the rest of this now. And how are you liking it over there?
It's awesome. Let me finish chewing.
So this is something like, this is part of the value added of the application. Like this is like, it seems like fancier than something you're not going to get this kind of service in, if you just order delivery.
Yeah. And, again, going back to the mobile app and the convenience that you can say you get to the chicken franchise, you get to his profile, and maybe eggplants aren't your favorite. Without, having to get uncomfortable with that and having to, oh, well, what should I do? You have sides and appetizers galore to pick from to add to your shopping cart. If this wasn't your fancy, you add something else. Asparagus au gratin or, pureed truffle cauliflower. You can add anything that you really see on the menu that you are really craving and add it to your shopping cart. You're not pinned down to any one specific layout.
Okay, and we also have this this chicken with the lemon and more parsley on top, right? So you're going to taste that?
Oh, yeah. All right, you already introduced it. There we go.
So is this cooked with lemon as part of the sauce, or?
It's got lemon all over it. Essentially, after I nicely brown the chicken and then I take it off the pot. Then I cook the lemons in that pot, and I get all of the flavor and fragrance of the lemons into the olive oil. So that's the first part of the lemon.
Yeah.
Then I have the white wine, the butter that is actually in flour before I put it in. So I have to put the butter in there because that thickens up the sauce. Then I put some more lemon juice in that, and I kind of just let that simmer. Then I add my chicken back into it, and then what you see is just topping with a lemon slice. But it's got the lemon in there. The white wine cooks off, but gives good flavor. And that's how I do my chicken franchise.
And you can really, the lemon is not overpowering. I can taste it. It's almost like that drink LaCroix. It's like hint of lemon, but it's not overpowering as if you just poured fresh lemon on the top and then it's just super acidic.
Right, yeah. The lemon is not the entire flavor palette. Very good.
So typically, what do you serve this over?
Personally, I like it over some pasta. I may do I love my sauce puttanesca. It's one of my favorites. I use it for fish. I also will sometimes use it for chicken. And so I may do a side of puttanesca sauce with this chicken, and then you can kind of mash it into both. So you have your pasta with that sauce, and then you'd be amazed how the chicken tastes so good with that sauce as well. So that's also what I believe is the benefits of a personal chef, because he can bring, number one, all of the clean ingredients that he uses, that he eats himself, and share it with you. So I believe that is an added value, other than just getting a styrofoam box from the restaurant, opening it up. Most of the time it's good, but you don't really know what it's cooked with, and it's not cooked in front of you.
So. Loads of butter. That's my fear, is that in order for them to achieve that flavor in the restaurant, they, I think I've
salt and butter.
They load
cream.
It up. Yes, cream. Yeah, on some of those lobster bisques. I mean, you have no idea how much cream they might put on it. Whereas maybe you ask for a light or calorie, less calories for your lobster bisque, you can make that unique. In a restaurant, they might pull it out of a vat or bag and it's warmed up.
It's also the cleanliness of the kitchen, which is something that you have your eyes on with a table dot chef being there is that everything is not sitting in some vat or sitting in some refrigerator and then just being thrown into the mix.
So what if you're somebody, like I'm trying to manage my calories when I eat. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but so like what if I wanted you to tell me like what the caloric content of what I'm eating is? Is that something you could do?
Maybe the chef could. At this time, we are not. We have not brought on that technology. It is our plans for enhancements in the future to be able to display that calorie count on each dish, and or if it's Whole30 approved or specific diet plan approved. At this time, you might just have to communicate you want low fat, low calorie, or that kind of conversation.
But the chef still could. Like the chef could say, I use this amount of ounces of chicken. I use this amount of this. I total it up. It's 600 calories. So that's what you're getting.
Yeah, especially for the meal plans, I'm sure labeled.
Yes.
And
the meal plans are a little bit more specific to what you're talking about, but it's also depending on portion control. I think if you're having a party of 4, you can pretty much divide it out.
We can't hear your eating, by the way. You're like leaning back.
Yeah, it's really customized. If you're doing 1 person or 2 people, you can certainly break that out and pretty much get it to the nose on exactly caloric counts and how much fat is in this and so on and so forth. But it's really about portion control for me, at least with clients, where if I design a meal plan that's daily, then I can tell them exactly what's in it. When you're cooking for a party of 4 or more, it's hard to really say exactly, maybe one's eating more sauce than the other, one's eating more pasta than the other, rice, so on and so forth. It's a difficult question.
So does the app show, like, do you choose the chef that comes, or like, do you see like what their credentials are, or like, how does that, or is it just you order the meal and somebody shows up?
No, it's actually, there's more science to it than what we, maybe to the customer's view. So you don't really search by chef. However, you search by what you're craving, what you're feeling, what you and your guests like to eat. Once you get to the chef's profile, so once you arrive to Chef Jason's profile, you get to read his bio, you're reading reviews, you can view certifications if there were any uploaded. So you can personally get to know the chef before completing the booking process.
Okay, so I could see like Jason.
There's a photo. Yep.
Like he has this experience. He like Jason, is this like your like a full-time thing for you, or are you cooking for somebody else?
Yes, right now I'm cooking full-time for Table Dot in the Tampa area. Yes.
Okay, and are there some other cooks that are like, they're cooking for some hotel, and then on the weekends they're cooking for Table Dot?
Yeah. So pre-pandemic, that chef had to actually move back to his hometown, but he was a great chef here in the Tampa Bay area, and he worked for a local yacht club, their dining hall, and then he would do Table Dot dinner parties, or if there were lunches scheduled and so forth, completely separate of his, what he'd call his job.
Yeah, because it might be. It seems like somewhat enticing. Like if I could, if I go on and I say, "Oh, this is a cook that, I think of somewhere nice. I think of like Ruth's Chris is a really nice restaurant. Like I could get a chef from Ruth's Chris, showing up at my house and cooking nice steak. That'd be, interesting."
We've had a couple executive chefs in some of our other cities, like Orlando, where we did a lot of the beta testing. Executive chefs, and there are a number of restaurants out in Orlando, so that's heavy in the number of chefs, and they're looking to kind of supplement their income because they might not be on the schedule as many days as they'd like.
So how does it work afterwards? Like Jason, now Jason seems like he, in our hypothetical here, he's given us this food, which I thought was really good. And that now do we rate him? Like, is it like he gets something out of 5 stars, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's just like, all of our marketplace on demand platforms we're used to. There's ratings that go back and forth. Sometimes the chef will rate the host to say,
These people were jerks and they
were
treated me like garbage.
they were drunk the whole time, or maybe if there wasn't sufficient kitchen supplies, hey, just a heads up, they're, bring your own pots and pans because these are, greased up. I don't know. But they can leave a review for other chefs to see. And then the same for the customer.
Very interesting. So what are like the safety concerns? Like, obviously with food and everything, like you're not using, it doesn't sound like Jason's using any spices or anything, like, because it might be tempting. I'm assuming, if you forgot something or grab some salt out of the cupboard, their cupboard, like, does that happen too? And like, how do you keep track of safety and all that kind of stuff?
Safety as far as spices. Well, so when the customer signs up, we ask for their allergies. So whether they are gluten intolerant, or they have shellfish allergies. And then every meal that's uploaded on TableDot also has allergies listed. So by the end of booking, you're going to know if there's specific allergies or if you need to communicate with your chef about a certain item in there. That's an allergy. You won't get the entire chef's recipe. We don't ask for the entire chef's recipe. Sometimes those are secrets and sometimes they're not. But we
Trade
ask them,
secrets.
Yeah, we ask them to give us some of the allergies that could be an issue for customers. So that information's pinged back and forth and then given to the customer at checkout.
And does the chef choose where the food is purchased, or does the customer decide that, or is there an option?
Go ahead.
It really depends. I have certain places I like to buy fish pretty much right off the boat in Tarpon Springs. Some people like to buy it at Publix. I choose to drive an hour and get that for myself and my customers. It really depends on the meal. Some meats I like locally. I buy extra ingredients at Publix and Whole Foods, places like that. But I go to specialty markets for my customers.
Yeah, we don't dictate. The chef is the true craftsman here. So we don't have anybody else shop for the chef. They know the ripeness of anything they need to pick up. They know the right texture of what they're looking for. So they are truly leading on shopping for the right groceries in the right location. And so they have autonomy on that.
And Jason, like going back to the COVID stuff, like he'd be wearing a mask during cooking all this and all that kind of stuff.
They arrive with masks. If the guest or the host, the host, is kind of relaxed about that and it's okay with the chef not wearing it, that's up to them, and that's an agreement they might make.
Is this also something that, like, if you're a corporation and you, like, what if you wanted to order TableDot for like a conference or a business meeting? Mm-hmm. Is that an option too? Like, obviously, if Jason would have to bring, like a hot plate and that kind of stuff, but
right. We'd probably definitely be there to assist with our vast number of chefs in certain areas. We could definitely connect the right chef with the right need. When you do sign up as a customer, you have to check that you have the appropriate facilities, which includes a kitchen, and with those standard appliances like an oven and a stove. So it's right now, in order for chefs to cook at a catering event, they would have to probably be more on a concierge basis. Yeah.
So Jason, what is your favorite thing to cook? Like, if you're cooking something for yourself, your number one thing to cook, what would you make?
Fish, pescatarian dishes, for sure.
Okay,
you name it, any kind of fish.
Any style?
Any style. I love sushi. My own style of sushi.
Oh yeah, he does have sushi on his
Yeah, I make my own sushi rice. I'm really, really into Asian cuisine these days, for me personally, and and vegetarian dishes as well.
I've made sushi somewhat successfully a couple times, and I know you got to use the Japanese rice, and you gotta wash the rice, and you gotta so I've made it where you up against the seaweed block, but a lot of the I've never been able to do it where there's no seaweed involved, right? Because if it's just where it's just rice, and then you put something in and you roll it, and it just stays there with just rice. Not sure exactly how to do that.
Has to do with sticky rice, right?
It's all about the rice.
Sticky rice.
And you use rice vinegar to make the rice stick together.
With a couple of other little secrets.
Oh, okay. There you go. See, you had trade secrets.
Yeah. I've never pulled off nor tried to make sushi. I just go sashimi.
Yeah.
Just ball up some rice, throw some. It takes no skill, but I don't think I'd be able to pull it off. So that's where I'd call Chef Jason.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. Okay, so we're looking at this is like the web version of Table Dot, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So pretty much when you get to the website, I'm already logged in, so it already has my permanent address there, but I could change that to a different city or a different address if I was going to be vacationing somewhere and I was going to an Airbnb. So then you get the results here. So you have a number of dishes that you can choose from, but say I was craving grouper. So I'm going to just type in grouper here, and these are dishes that maybe have grouper in it. And so Chef Jason, he said he loves to make his grouper puttana. So you click search chef.
Not sure what that means, but
I don't know
okay.
either. Yeah. And then you pick your date and time. The 10th sounds great. Let's pick we'll pick 6:30. All right. And now you're at Chef Jason's profile. And this is where you're going to see his stars, his cancellation policy, any reviews that he has. And then there's your grouper puttana. So say I'm having 4 guests over. I want to add that to my shopping cart. And here's where I can add on appetizers, desserts, pre-dinner items. We got empanadas, salads. So you want to add some salads. Those empanadas look good. And then maybe you want a hummus platter. And you go to the checkout, and pretty much you have your summary of everything you just ordered, and you have your price for 4 people.
Okay, so that's $218.57.
And that's for everything you ordered up here for you and your 4 friends.
Okay. So why don't you go ahead and just deliver that to my house? No, I'm just kidding. What if we were in a different city? And so you would have you can see different chefs in different cities.
Say, you're going to maybe Jacksonville and you got an Airbnb there and you don't want to cook, or maybe you want something special. So Jacksonville, Florida. I don't really know the address yet, but there are 16 private chef meals in Jacksonville. Some of these things look amazing, to be honest. So I'm going to show you right up here.
Now, who designed these meals?
These are meals from the chef's profile, whether they have a portfolio themselves from their Instagram. So you have your sea scallops.
So each chef has different dishes that he designed himself, and you're picking from those.
Yes. So the search chef, again, date and time of your event. And now you get to Lisa Leonardi's profile. And so these are meals that she's cooked. She's provided these photos. You can read a description of it here. Again, we can pick 6 people. And now we're on to, that's the appetizer version of that dish. Some dessert there, smoked cauliflower, baked brie. You can, Gulf oysters. So I like oysters. Asparagus soup, and we have my previous dish that I put on there. So, it goes on and on. So you have your dishes here. You have your main dish, a soup, oysters appetizer, and for 6 people, it comes out to $338.
Very cool, very cool. So how does it work now? Can you use Apple Pay, or how does the money change hands?
Right now we just take credit card, which is pretty much all your major credit cards. So you go to the address, you just make sure your address is entered. Right now it's just taking the address that I provided at the beginning. And then you go on to your payment, which is just any major credit card. And then you'll get to your review and then the final receipt.
Okay, so people can visit this at tabledot.com.
Mm-hmm. Tabledot.com. If you want to check us out on Facebook, tabledot.food, Instagram, Twitter, you can find it all.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for showing me the application. So people understand. Like, so that's what we saw as a web application, and just that was on an Android phone. Correct?
That was on Android, and that's the mobile-friendly website. So basically, you can go to tabledot.com. You'll get the same results. If you want to check us out, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. It's pretty easy to find. Tabledot. We're located in Tampa, but again, we're in many cities throughout Florida.
Okay, and is this that same thing you showed me also would work on like an iPhone, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the general website is www.tabledot.com.
Mm-hmm. TABLEDOT, and then an extra dot because of the .com. So
okay, are you on Instagram too?
Yep. Pretty much on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. It's just Tabledot.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And just before we go, I just wanted to ask you, like, what challenges have you had for, like, generally as an entrepreneur now that everybody's seen the app and they've seen the product and they've seen the food and all the effort that you've gone through, like how does it feel to be where you are, and what kind of challenges have you faced to get where you are now?
I mean, I guess the only piece of advice I have for anybody who's looking to become an entrepreneur or is interested in starting a business is you have to understand that it's a roller coaster. You're going to have your highs, and that's from all the work that you put in, but you're going to have the roller coaster comes down at some point where you think maybe you're not doing it right. But that, like I said, the need drives inspiration, and the inspiration, it drives the motivation to keep going. So stick with it. Keep pushing. Everybody loves, to be around people who are motivated and who truly have a desire or a dream. So if I can do it, you can too.
All right. Well, with that, I just wanted to thank you so much for coming on, and we look forward to hearing from you in the future with the success of Tabledot.
Yeah, thank you.